The Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring. When Aragorn comes to the rescue of Frodo and the three hobbits are fleeing for their lives from the Nazgul in the Dead Marshes, the Witch King transforms into his fell beast form and blasts them with cold fire. Merry is knocked off his feet and separated from the group. And Aragorn, seeing that he can't fight the Nazgul while keeping an eye on Merry, leaves the helpless hobbit behind and runs away with the others. So would you? Could you leave Merry behind to die, or would you rather stay with him and be captured by the Nazgul? And if you were Frodo, what would you do? In this scene, we're immediately shown how terrifying the fell beast form of the Witch King actually is. Not only does it dwarf Gandalf the White, who was no small person, but it also breathes a freezing cold fire, which freezes everything in its path and knocks Merry clean off his feet. Frodo is absolutely terrified. Samwise Gamgee, too afraid to speak, has his eyes wide with fear, and Pippin is also knocked off his feet by the blast of cold fire, although he's not hurt. But Merry is lying on the ground, frozen and surrounded by these disgusting, horrible orcs, all except one who stands out among them. This orc looks different from the others. It's taller and more muscular, and when the other orcs are moving around, it just stands there unmoving like a statue. Aragorn quickly realizes he can't fight the Nazgul while keeping an eye on Merry. So what does he do? He leaves the helpless hobbit behind and tries to flee with the others. Frodo, though, can't leave Merry behind, and when Aragorn suggests they should go, he refuses and says, "I can't leave him here to die." Aragorn argues back and reminds Frodo why they really need to go, saying, "We have to stop them getting back to Minas Morgul. We may yet be in time to save the Shire." Frodo replies, "Then we must save Middle-earth." He says this because if Merry and Pippin are captured, then the White Wizard Saruman will surely get a hold of the Palantir that Pippin was carrying with him, and Sauron will know exactly where to find the hobbits and the ring. So Frodo, with Pippin in tow, refuses to leave Merry and decides to face the oncoming orcs instead. There's a lot to unpack in this scene, and so let's take a closer look at it now. Frodo, Pippin and Merry were separated from Aragorn and the others after the Witch King blasted them with his fell breath. Merry was knocked off his feet and frozen in place, and Aragorn, realizing he couldn't fight the Nazgul while keeping an eye on Merry, left the hobbits behind and ran into the marshes. Now I think it's important to remember that Frodo had seen the Ringwraiths before and knew how dangerous they were, far more dangerous than any orc. When he saw Merry lying on the ground frozen and surrounded by orcs, he probably assumed that Merry was already dead. So in Frodo's mind, the only thing he could do was try and escape with the others. Merry was already dead. So why risk your life trying to save someone who's already dead? Pippin, on the other hand, didn't see the danger the Nazgul posed. He had never seen them before, and so didn't understand how serious the situation was. But even he realized that leaving Merry behind would be wrong. Aragorn, however, saw things very differently. He believed that there was still hope for Merry, that Frodo could use the Phial of Galadriel to free Merry from the ice. But Aragorn was wrong. The Phial of Galadriel couldn't save Merry. It was only meant to protect its wearer from Morgul blades and Morgul poison. And Aragorn also forgot that the Witch King was there. The Nazgul weren't interested in capturing Merry or taking him back to Sauron. They were there to kill him. If Aragorn hadn't left the hobbits behind, they most likely would have all been captured and killed by the Nazgul. So in the end, Aragorn made the right call. But why did Frodo refuse to leave Merry behind? Why did Frodo believe that he could somehow save Merry when it was clear that the Nazgul were about to kill him? Well, the answer is simple. Frodo couldn't bring himself to leave Merry behind. Even though Frodo knew that leaving Merry behind was probably the best course of action, he couldn't bear the thought of abandoning his friend. This is something that we can all relate to. Sometimes we know that we should do the right thing, but we don't do it because it's too difficult. Frodo was scared to leave Merry behind, and he was also scared of what would happen if Merry died. But in the end, He knew that he had to do the right thing, and so he decided to stay with Merry and try to save him. And let's not forget that Frodo had the Phial of Galadriel with him, which gave him some protection against Morgul blades and Morgul poison. So Frodo really did have a chance to save Merry. But unfortunately, Frodo didn't know that, and so he was basically just trying to save Merry because he was Frodo's friend. If you found yourself in this situation, what would you do? Would you leave your friend behind to die, or would you stay with him and try to save him? Let me know in the comments below. Next, I want to talk about why Frodo was able to lift the curse that was placed on Merry by the Morgul blade. In order to break the curse, Frodo needed to journey to the Dead Marshes and find the Morgul blade that was used to wound Merry. Once he found the Morgul blade, Frodo had to submerge it in the Morgul water. This is a very risky thing to do, as the Morgul water is highly poisonous to anyone who isn't a Morgul creature. But Frodo didn't hesitate. He knew that Merry's life was at stake, and he was willing to risk his own life to save Merry. In the end, Frodo was successful in breaking the curse and saving Merry's life. And finally, let's talk about the importance of friendship. In The Lord of the Rings, friendship is one of the most important themes. The Fellowship of the Ring is made up of 8 friends who are willing to put aside their differences and work together to achieve a common goal. Their friendship is tested many times throughout the story, but they always manage to come out of it stronger than before. Frodo's friendship with Merry is one of the most important relationships in the story. They've been best friends since they were young hobbits living in the Shire, and they're willing to risk their lives to save each other. So what would you do if you were Frodo? Leave Merry behind to die, or stay with him and be captured by the Nazgul? What do you admire most about Frodo? His bravery, his determination, or his friendship with Merry? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe so you never miss an upload. And if you want to watch another video, the next one I recommend is The Lord of the Rings. Why did Gandalf leave the hobbits? Click right here to watch it. Until the next video, goodbye.